In the UK, if you come from a black household, you on average earn 20 pence for every pound compared to a white household. If you come from a single parent household too, you earn 3 times more likely to be in poverty than those with 2 parents. I'm not saying all this to depress you. This was my starting line. I grew up in a council house with 6 older brothers, with a single mum struggling to keep it all together. If I wanted to make money or get out of this situation, I had to do it myself. I understand what it's like to be poor. If you were to look at my life from afar, you would not think that I would be successful. The statistics is literally not in my favor. I can thankfully say that I'm not in that position anymore. I've now stepped out of that life and into the world of business. And in this video, I want to give you the 5 lessons that I've learned from growing up poor. The first lesson that I had to learn is that poverty starts in the mind. It starts with how you think. You have no money, and this is how life is. All the evidence is stacked against you, and then other beliefs start to form in. So that means if you want money, it's gonna be very hard for you to get. This is the biggest thing that many people have to overcome. Throughout my whole childhood, no matter what happened, I always believed that I would make it. I am a very stubborn, this is probably the biggest thing that I've been blessed with. I didn't have any money. I didn't know anyone with money. However, I had faith that I would get it. I had no evidence. I'm not talking about belief here. I'm talking about faith. Faith, as I define it, is the conviction, the 100% conviction in something that's not there. You have to have faith in order to make money. Most people, especially poor people, take themselves out of the race because they don't believe it. They say things like, that's not me. Oh yeah, I can't do that. Even if they don't say it out loud, they say this internally. My mum, God bless her, has it in her mind the only way to be successful is to go through uni. She's a very traditional, very typical mum. If you don't have education, then you're not nobody. Even though when I study architecture, I now paid people more than an average architect earns, she still isn't convinced. I never had that belief. I strongly rebuke any types of beliefs that limit my financial situations. This is the biggest thing I think that people have to overcome. You can't get anywhere without believing or having faith in it first. Money doesn't come to you without belief. You first have to have some faith, and then you have some actions to justify that faith. My situation will get better and everything will work itself out. If, and this is the big if, I put the actions into it. Faith without action is just delusion. When I was broke and I wanted to get out into the world of business, I took myself on a course. Nobody wanted to come with me. People, and they won't really admit this, but they were looking down on me. They kind of had the opinion that, why are you going on this course? You know nothing about property. You're not like these people. This is the type of mentality that is not spoken loud. Some people do say this loudly, but it's just the, don't try that. You're in this bubble, in this box. This is for other people. That's for people who grew up in a different way. This is your lane and stay in your lane, especially in the UK. This is a very dogma mentality. It's the number one thing that keeps people poor. The next lesson is that being poor is expensive and no one is going to come and save you. If you don't have enough money in your bank, what do? They charge you money if you don't put the money back in. If you don't have enough money to buy good food, what happens? You become sick. If you don't have enough money to pay something in full, you add interest. All of these things become expensive in life. People don't realize that you have a cycle of people being poor because they can't get out of that situation because it's so expensive. Every single day that goes past, that interest, that debt is being added on to you mentally. Every single day that you're in this situation, you are believing and having the faith that this is your life. And it's gonna take even more things in order to push you out of that belief. This needs to create some urgency in yourself. Also, no one's gonna save you from that situation. No one is going to come and give you money. When I was younger, I used to think like, is no one gonna come and give us some money? Did people not see that we are struggling? And the hard answer is no. There are more people who are deserving across the world that need money. If you're watching this, you're probably not one of those people. You probably have enough to get yourself out of this situation, but only you can do it. Only you. If you want to make money, you need to deserve to be the person who makes more money. Obviously, you want to be ethical, but you need to be aggressive. You need to be aggressive with your approach in order to get yourself out of a situation. The only way you can do this is by building yourself up. You need skills, action, and value that you give to other people, so then they in exchange give you money. So you need to actually get some urgency, get yourself ready to actually move forward and get through this time. The next lesson is that you need to unlearn poor habits. When you're poor, you're naturally surrounded by poor people. You develop things to help you survive being poor and get yourself through the day. And that moment in time, those things were useful. But when you're on the way of making money, leveling yourself up, you need to abandon some of these things. Sometimes these things actually bring you down, or these habits will keep reminding you that you once were poor. For example, one thing that I had to let go of is being so generous. For me growing up, poor people were extremely generous. You would give something to someone else and they will give something to you, and you would help this person. And this was the coping mechanism that you would have in order to survive. In my experience, richer people, although I hold no resentment to them, wouldn't really lend you a bag of sugar. But someone in your own situation would understand your struggle and would help you, if you get what I'm saying. Later in life, I met this guy called Aki, and Aki was homeless. He lived outside my apartment block. And one day I was doing shopping in a local supermarket and he was in there. It was almost closing time and he was asking people for food. These people, a group of young lads or going on a night out, were giving him a really hard time. He wanted some food, but the only food of the sandwiches that were left were ones that contained pork. And he was telling them that he's Muslim and he can't eat pork. I could overhear them give him a hard time about it. You know, you're homeless, you better eat this, you're gonna eat anything else. And he was saying, look, I'm not trying to cause any trouble, but look, I can't eat this. Like it's against my religious beliefs. I'm so sorry, I can't do this. The shopkeeper overheard this, and when the guys left, the guy gave Aki the sandwiches to eat. And he was like, look, man, look, I know you're religious, but just please eat this. You're gonna have something to eat tonight at least. I then saw Aki give those sandwiches to his friends. And this is the type of generosity I'm talking about with poor people. You know, if you have nothing, you're still a human being at the end of the day. Every time I saw Aki after that, I would give him money because I knew this man had a heart of gold and he was such a bright sunshine. I say this to say, when you're leveling yourself up in business and just in life, the two biggest resources are your time and your energy. Although being generous, even financially, was helping when you're poor, a lot of people waste your time. A lot of people want to take things from you, your time and energy and your attention, and keep you on the same level that they are. And you can't afford to give them that attention. Some people you're gonna have to cut off. This was my big thing. You know, I have to stop being so generous and trying to help everyone get out of their situation because I got out of mine. Sometimes it's okay, and sometimes, you know, you can't help people who don't want to be helped. I had to learn and, you know, take away this habit that I usually see with poor people of giving all your time and energy to people because you think that they desperately need it. I had to remove myself from these people because all they wanted to do was be in the same situations. They didn't actually want to better themselves. They just wanted to seem like it, if that makes sense. And if you want to make more money and you want to elevate yourself, you need to use your time and your actions wisely. Those are the only resources that you have throughout the day. Yes, you have financial. I'm not saying don't give people money. However, you needed to cut some people off. And it was very difficult not giving my time and attention, especially when they're close friends and family. The next thing is that being poor is loud and being wealthy is quiet. Poor people tend to cement the times when they are the most broke. When you grow up poor, you really do remember the times where you're at your worst, where you don't have any money in your pocket, and it creates a deep trauma. You carry this on for when you're an adult in life. So then when you get money, poor people tend to buy things they can't afford. They buy a car that takes up 60% of their income. They'll buy jewelry, clothes, watches, you name it. It's how funny this trap is. The same trauma that you had to get money to get yourself out of that situation, you then go and buy things to put you back in that situation. It's like a loop. And this is what I mean by being loud. A lot of poor people tend to compensate themselves and put on armor all over their body to protect themselves from those times that they were invisible or those times where they didn't have enough. This compensation is a severe trap but they need to feel like, I'm not that person anymore. I'm not that person from the estate. I'm not that person, look at me. However, I especially realized this when I started making more money. Richer people don't want attention. They don't want people to even know that they have money. Everyone wants a slice of the cake. Everyone wants something from a rich person. So they don't want to give you reasons to take something from them, that you have more than them. Even outside the whole status thing, you tend to find poor people have the loudest opinions. They're always talking about something online. They're always raving about the new thing to be upset about. Whereas richer people tend to think and strategize, and they don't tend to involve themselves in these types of conversations.